Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. I'm Chris with M7 Metalworks, and today we're going to work on this 61 International C110 pickup truck. I've already started. The leaf springs are failing on this truck, so when I had the truck on the ground, and I wish I would have, I started this project and then realized, yeah, this is probably something I ought to record for you guys on YouTube. So I think I'm just going to pick up where I've left off. But let me catch you up on what I've done to this point. I've taken the leaf spring off on the driver's side, and I have yet to take the leaf spring off on the passenger side, which I'm going to do right now, and I'll do for you on camera. But the reason we're doing this is because when this thing's sitting on the ground and I don't have anything supporting it, it's just on its own weight. That side over there was about 1.5 inches higher, give or take. And that's kind of unacceptable. It's too high. And the reason for it is that this side over here, the springs are nearly flat. They don't have near the arch that the other one has got. But when I take it off, what I'll do is I'll compare it to the other, and we'll just see how much of a difference it makes. I'm going to assume it's 1.5 inches, but I don't know that for sure. I don't know how all the geometry works, but you can see it's fairly simple as far as removing these leaf springs. You can see we have a shock here, so we'll unbolt that and just disconnect that from the whole system. Then we've got 2 square U-bolts in there, and you can see they go through the frame here. So the U-bolts go through the I shouldn't say the frame, I should say the axle right here, and that's how you can't really mess up the position of your leaf spring with it like that. And then of course it goes into the shackle on this end and the shackle on that end, or the housing on this end and the shackle on that end. Alright guys, well, I had trouble with this one. I heated this up, still couldn't get it out. So I went ahead and undid the nut here, and I gave that a nice smack with the hammer, the brass hammer without a nut on it, and she went in that far. There's one. Yeah, we're very close. Alright, I think it's time for me to get my jack back up under here. I've got jack stands on it now, but I need to get a better position. So let me get my jack back up here, and we'll take her up a little bit, and I'll see if I can't knock the rest of that thing out. And then we'll just see if we can't pull it out from the front. And that's a bit cantankerous even. Whew. You can see that thing wasn't easy. All right. She is. We got her. Yeah, we got her. We are completely disconnected. All right. Now, that back is a little bit out of our way now, so there we go. Just peel that thing out of there. Okay, there's our plate. So that plate, I just want to make sure you guys see this so you understand how it works. So this plate was underneath, and that's what our shock bolts to. Okay guys, well, here's the shackle. I still never did get those out. They just slid out of the frame. This one slid out of the frame. Here's one of the bushings. It gets 2, so 1 on each side. And you can see how it's thin on this side and thick on that side. So it's definitely worn out, though the rubber doesn't feel too bad. We're gonna knock these pins out. If I don't, just to show you, I mean, it'd be very difficult to get these pins to line up right. So I think we'll just get them on the anvil here. It moves a lot easier up here for two reasons. The biggest one being that this anvil's not going to budge a whole bunch on me. And of course in the truck, I had all sorts of movement. And I don't think I'll even be able to use these pins again, but I definitely want to use the shackle if I can. Let's see if we can make sure you guys can see this okay. There she goes. I'll show you the pins. Okay, so there's our pins and the shackle. Okay guys, so here's the two springs. This is the driver's side left. When you're in the vehicle, it's on the left side, and right, and they are marked. If you look under here, I'll clean these up later. Anyways, these are shock mounts. So these go right underneath the springs, and then your square U-bolts, and we call them square because square on the top. They go right up in here. Your axle goes there, and you bolt right to it. So easy peasy, nothing to it. And you can see kind of some of the issues here. So this has been replaced. Obviously, it used to have this type of spring. It's broken most likely, and they've replaced it with this spring. Problem is this spring isn't doing anything to the base, to the rest of the springs for support. If you notice, the other spring is molded in the same arch. This is straight across, so that's not supporting the other springs, so that's a big issue. Probably why this side was sagging really bad. Now with the weight off of it, it's not too bad, but it was sagging pretty bad on the vehicle. And this one, which was the one I thought was good, if you look right through there, you can see cracks. So this first one, I could probably just hit it with a hammer, and that thing where it would fall apart. So even my good one wasn't doing any good. All right guys, we're back, and we have our new spring. As you can see, ordered this from St. Louis Spring Company, I believe is their name, and seem like good people. I'm sorry about the lighting here. GoPro does not know what to do with lights, and the sun is shining in brightly here, but let's go through some of what we've got. Okay, so we've got our hanger here, our shackle. We bought new U-bolts. They're just a hair bit longer than the others. I don't know, what's that, 3/4 inch, something like that. Nice nuts and very thick washers, so that's good. And then we've got new bushings, and the bushing number is Harris 60889. So that's the new bushings, and I'm going to cut these down just a little bit for the front mounts. I've already done. Say hi. That's Daria, my youngest, and that's her boyfriend Alex. And I've already done the first leaf spring there on the passenger side, and so now I'm going to do the driver's side for you guys. And this one really wasn't that difficult. It went in pretty easy. Cut this front bushing down, and I say I don't have to, but I think it'll really facilitate getting it in here. That bushing is just a little bit too thick, and so what I think I'll do is in this part, the thinner part goes into the shaft. Okay, what happens is I end up with this much bushing on the outside. It makes it really tough to jam up in there. Now this thing is dished inside, so it will accept that, but it's hard getting up in there. So I'm just going to cut a little bit off of this on the bandsaw, and then I'll shape it a little bit with the belt sander. I'll show you that real quick. guys, so you can see the stock bushing is on top and the modified bushing is below. So I just took a little bit off the top of both of these just to thin them up just a little bit, make it just a little bit easier to get in there, but not too much. Okay, they've just given a simple squirt of some WD-40. Pop those in. Simple. Same with this one. See? All right, just so you can see how the shackle works. So the bushings go in like this. And then we'll slide that in, and then we'll pull the leaf spring onto this one, and that's why I only have one bushing on the back side, and then we'll put one other bushing in the top of this once we get that through. So you'll see what I mean. It sounds more complex, I think, than it actually is. Okay, so here's our shackle. When I took this apart, this was this way. I'm going to change it and just go this way, just because I think it's easier for me to pull that shackle or that leaf spring into the shackle. So I have to put another, see if I can show you here. I have to put another bushing on the end of this. Basically put her inside there. It's hard to do with one hand, so I'm going to put you down. There we go. Okay. And then once we get the spring on, we'll put it on like that, and then we'll compress that a little bit. And if I have to, I'll use a C-clamp to get in there and compress that a little bit. Hopefully I can get a few threads on the nut. And you can see on my axle, you can see where the U-bolts go into. They go here, and then my locating pin goes right in the center there. Hope I'm getting that in frame. It's a little tricky underneath the car. So here's where my front shackle is. All I'm doing is just getting that up on there. Remember, we've got a plate that goes right on that axle. So those four U-bolt pins go on all four corners, and then the locating pin goes right there. So that goes. We're going to use the axle a little bit to our advantage. There we go. I'm going to get my pin in there. Now, I think it's easier to get the rear shackle on first, and then I'll lift the frame up and move this over and work it inside there. So that's how I did the last one. I think we're going to just do the same thing here. Right now this is sitting on the front axle, but it won't be once I lift this. It'll pull itself off of there. So let's go to the back. All right. Well, so I don't have a bushing in this because I've got to pull it onto this one. I do have a bushing on the other side though. So let's work on getting that in. This is why I have it reversed, because I just felt it's easier to move this thing. Getting that pin started. I should have helped myself out and used a little bit of WD, so that's what I'll do. Put a little WD-40 there. WD-40 is known to be a rubber friendly. So it won't cause us any damage. I think we're going to go up a little bit. See if I can get a little. Come on. Yeah, it's already harder than the first one. So maybe that's good. I got you guys on the hard one. There we go. Just had to free it up on. Alright. Hopefully I got you in frame. I've got the truck jacked up just a little bit more still. Alright, well, I got a C-clamp, so we're just going to squeeze that thing on there. Give it a little bit of lube. Oh my. Well, I'm meeting significant resistance. Have I hit the pin already? I may have. I'll bet I have. Let's just see. Yep, hit the pin. All right, guys, almost there. Used the C-clamp and basically did the same thing we did earlier, only this time it worked. I think mostly because I had her tied up here when this wasn't sliding out. I still got some gap here, so I still need to try to do my best to bring it in a little bit. So I'll do that. And yeah, bringing her in just a little bit. Well, once you get it, it doesn't seem to go too bad. But man, this one was rough getting it going. My other side, it took off right from the very beginning, and just never had any issues with it. This one here is giving me grief the whole way. I'd still like to come in a little more. I don't know how well you can see my gap here. I need to bring that in so that I can get a little bit of thread showing here. Because without any thread, I don't get a nut on it. If I don't get a nut on it, she ain't gonna stay. So I'll just keep working at it and I'll bring you back. That just about cold cocked me. She tried. I'll just use this C-clamp and persuade it in my direction. How's that? I was able to take some of the slop out of this, by the way, using a bushing and put it over that. That helped it. All right, so that gives me some threads on top to get attached, so that's good. Now I think we'll move her down just a little closer to this and we'll see if we can get some threads here showing for us. This one here really is tight. Yeah, I boogered my threads up a little bit. I think it's okay though. Yeah. By the way, I did use all the same original hardware, and the reason for that was because I could not find these pins. So if anyone knows where these pins are at, they're 9/16 pin, and I believe they're a 7/16 by 20 on the thread here. But the shaft of the pin itself is 9/16, and I want to say the length of that shaft, not the total length, but the part that goes in there, I want to say was right around 4 inches. Anyways, I struggled. All right, we're just going to get a little bit snug here. Yeah, and then we'll squeeze the rest of that together. That was a beast. Okay, so now we're going to go to the front and we're going to work on getting the front shackle, and then we'll lift the whole thing off the axle and get the oh, I don't know, the alignment plate with the strut, the shock mount on there. Okay, so you can see we've got her sitting on the axle. Don't have our shock mount with the alignment thing, and that is wedged, by the way. It's not just a little plate, so it wedges it in a way that tilts that leaf spring toward the rear. But you can see our distance here, even when I kind of line her up a little bit. You see how fat it is, so it's a bit of a tight, snug fit. But I think we'll be okay to get that to go in. So now what I need to do is I need to jack this up. Okay, you can see what it's kind of doing right here now. You see how it's wanting to pull that thing out of there. And so we're going to try to work it a little bit better. Okay guys, well, I've got the pin started. I was able to get it up in there. Took a little bit, and a lot of WD-40. I think I need to relieve the pressure now because now I've got a lot of tension and I'm kind of cockeyed. So I'm going to take some pressure off the jack here and we'll see if that helps us out. I'm going to put you guys up on the tripod. Take the pressure off of that leaf spring. I'm just using the C-clamp to kind of pull this pin in. Hopefully get it past that second bushing. It's in there. That's the. If I can slip it past that, then we'll be home free, I believe. But that's knurled right there, so that needs to be either pressed in or hammered in. I'm going to try hammering it and see if I can get it to go in now. I've got the nut on the end down here, and the thread and everything's all the way through, so we're good shape there. We'll still have to line it up on our axle, and we'll have to lift the axle off so we can put on our little perch for our shock, as well as that, you know, little wedge in there. Ooh, that's just about in. You give that a couple more whacks. That's my dogs going nuts. Anytime someone pulls in. I think my torque on these is about 75 pounds, but we won't do that until we get the thing down on the ground and some weight on it. Okay guys, it's a different morning. It's the next day, as a matter of fact. I've got the springs on both sides in now. Got a mess underneath the vehicle, but I've got both springs in. I've also got the shocks in. You can see that right there. Got the shocks in. Now the U-bolts are torqued at 55, and I got that from the manual. They're 7/16 20 thread, and so it's a 50 to 60 pounds of torque. So I went ahead and went in the middle and got 55. And then it's a little ambiguous about the torque settings on the eyes of the leaf spring. It basically doesn't give you a torque value. It essentially says don't over torque them. So I don't know what that means, but I got them snug. Apparently you can get those too snug, and that's an issue, I guess, where they'll bound it up a little bit. So now we're going to go ahead and fire this thing up. Now this is a good time, guys, also to test out. If you've been following the International Truck series that I've been doing on this truck, you'll know that I put a electric fuel pump in, and that was basically to prime the system for when it sits for a while. Well, it's sat for 2 weeks at least now without starting it, and it's cold as ice right now. I have not started it in 2 weeks, so we're going to start it now, and we're going to hit that that electric fuel pump, and we'll see how it goes. So you can just kind of follow along with me. All right, I got some seat belts, by the way. This is from an old International truck, Lodestar, 1974. Not quite as old as this. Okay, so we've got our battery connected. So this is our electric fuel pump. So we're going to hit that. You can hear it. And then it gives us a different sound. Once it does that, make sure we're neutral here. We'll give her a couple squirts. I don't think I'm going to choke it. Oh, that didn't sound good. Sounds like our battery's disconnected. Well, guys, it turned out to be this, believe it or not. That was just too loose. There's a little screw underneath there on both sides that kind of tightens that and allows that to pivot, but not too much. Anyways, that was just too loose, and the way I found it is I turned on my dome light and I just started fiddling with things, and once my dome light came on, I had power. So all right, so we're going to take her for a run now. I have not started it yet. I have, however, primed it, which I did with you guys earlier. Now that's been 15 minutes ago, so we're not going to reprime it. I'm going to assume that that prime is still good. We're in good shape. So we're in neutral. And we're not going to choke it. It's warm today, so we're going to go ahead and see how it fires up. Let's get the window rolled down so we can hear it a little better. All right. Yep. And maybe we will, let's choke her just a little. Yeah, that choke helped a little bit, didn't it? See if we can keep her running just a little bit, let her get warmed up. We're going to take her for a drive. I'm going to take you guys along for the ride as well. First gear, you can hear it's granny gear. These are 14 rear end, so it's decent rear end, and we're still barely crawling. Let's go into second gear. She's a little bit dirty because I haven't had it out for a while. So this is the first time I've driven it in 2+ weeks, I would say. Maybe we may be going on 3. So we'll take her down the road and see what it feels like. Got new shocks too. I mentioned putting the shocks back on, but I didn't mention replacing them. So I did replace the front shocks and the front suspension. The rear has the same shocks on the back and the same leaf springs. Not out of my driveway. bias ply tires on, which I do definitely think they affect the handling some. They feel hard going into curves, if that makes any sense. They just feel kind of stiff going into curves. They don't feel like they're flexing as much as a regular radial tire would, but that's just my going off a feel. I don't know that for sure. All right, about 55 mile an hour. I did replace the speedometer cable on this as well. Put a new one on. And I've oiled this speedometer as well to try to get it not being so bouncy. It's still a little bouncy, but not bad. I'm doing 60 mile an hour right now, and it's cruising down the road real nice. And it feels good. Definitely feels good. No complaints at all. And this truck, because of the 410 rear end, it'll go pretty good speed down the road. It's got a 4-speed. This is a T98, the transmission here. It originally came from the factory with a 3-speed T15, I believe, is what the line set ticket says. And that's what I thought it had in it until I got underneath it and started snooping around, and the case on the transmission says T98, so, and it is a 4-speed with the granny gear. My fuel gauge does work, and my temp gauge works, and my amp meter is working. My oil pressure right now, I think, is disconnected because I have no oil pressure reading, and I know I normally would. So I've been in this messing with it, so that's probably my issue. And I can tell by the way it's running that it's getting some oil. Not loud at all. Upshifted into 3rd gear, or downshifted I should say. Upshifted. Where did that come from? Still, I've got the front bumper put back on. I had it off to get the springs replaced. Turn signal's working just fine. I worked on that a little bit as well. Through a little park here. Pretty nice little park actually. Looks like this guy's going through it as well. Second gear and still not going very fast, so that gearing is pretty low on the low gears. Get a look over the bluff here down at the river. neat. Nice little area. Historic area as well. If you can hear that little bit of a stumble in the trend or in the accelerator. It stumbles just a little bit right there at the very beginning, and then it takes off just, and it's just fine. So odd. Okay, well guys, I'm back from the drive, and we're still high on this driver's side, and you know, I don't know how well that shows up on camera, but we are just slightly up on this side, exactly 1 inch to be precise. So let me show you on the chalkboard here. So here is before I switched out the springs. So we're about 1.5 inches off. Now we're 32 1/4 on the front passenger side and 33 1/4 on the driver's side. So we dropped on both sides 1/4 inch. Well, I'm sorry. Let me take that back. We were 33, so we dropped 3/4 inch on the passenger side, and we dropped 1/4 inch. No, my math's not very good, is it? We dropped 1.25 inches on the driver's side. So that's just replacing the stock spring. So a little bit surprised at that. I would not have expected to have dropped at all. If anything, I would have expected to be a little bit higher, though I don't know that I can tell. The difference is it was 1.5 inches difference on before, now it's 1 inch difference. Here's my rears. My rear is about 13/16 inch different from passenger side to driver side, so just a hair over 1/4 inch. So, you know, I don't know, I can't tell it rides any lower. It looks the same to me. Unfortunately, I can still see that lean that it has in it, and I seriously doubt when I get in it that changes too much. So some would say, oh, just put the old leaf spring on the right side and go back to 33. Well, that old leaf spring was broken and it wasn't in very good shape at all. I'm just surprised that these springs aren't giving me a little bit better support than they are. And I'm very close. I don't know if you can see right back there. I'm very close to touching that linkage there for my steering with the back part of that leaf spring. Same scenario on this side. So that's maybe, I don't know, 1/4 inch on both sides. About the same on both sides. So I will retorque my U-bolts at some point in the near future, 50 miles or so. So I don't know what's next, guys. I'd like to tell you I know, but I don't. I know I'm going to put the bumper back on, get it looking right in the front. And I've got some mirrors I need to mount on this. I took off those West Coast mirrors. They just weren't very functional. They looked good. They just weren't, they didn't work very good. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the like button and share with your friends if you would. I'd appreciate it. Anything to help the channel grow. Thanks. I'm Chris with M7 Metalworks.